From Flowery Branch and Falcons practice, we want you to stay alive today. At 929 The Game on Twitter, at Atlanta Falcons on Twitter for updates, or clips of highlight plays here from practice. You want to know what's going on up here at Flowery Branch? You can find it at those two spots. You can keep listening to Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We are the midday show with Rick and John. It is Top 5 Tuesday. I'm excited about this one because I've lived long enough to complete a pretty good list on this. Top 5 milestones in history that John and I have seen live. John, if we were 22 and 19, this Top 5 Tuesday would not work.
Probably be pretty short.
We're 47 and 41. Well, we'd be talking about high school stuff that we saw, right? But no, we've seen some pretty major sporting events and some pretty major history. We're going to sprinkle it in throughout the show here in our Top 5 Tuesday.
Yeah, you guys can text in 22929 on the side. You've seen.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Gotta be in the morning time. Oh, yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right. I'm going to put it on my calendar right now. All right. Bye-bye.
Consecutive win for the Hawks. They, of course, lost the next game. And I was in the house for Devin Hester's return against Tampa Bay on Thursday Night Football to pass Dion for the most returns in NFL history. So that's a pretty good local history I have seen.
Yeah, I was there, obviously, on the field for Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders was on the field standing probably 5 yards from me when Devin Hester broke the record. And that was a pretty surreal moment in a blowout situation. You see how emotional Devin was at that time. Deion was very emotional because they were really close from their time growing up. Devin was sort of mentored by Deion Sanders, so it was really cool to see that locally as well.
I still have a picture of the scoreboard, John, at 56-0. because I'm in there. I'm with my buddy Dave Lewis, and we're having fun. We have really good seats. We were actually right down where you were, John. I didn't know you at the time, but I knew you were, but didn't know you. But we were right in front of the NFL Network set, or the I think it was CBS that night. James Brown and Tony Gonzalez and all those guys. But we're right down there on the field, man. Great moment. Great moment.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch. So you guys can text in 22929. It was a Friday night, by the way. Chad texted me and said, hey, it was a Friday night for Fernando Valenzuela and Dave Stewart. Again, as a 15-year-old, I didn't have a whole lot going on, so I had to sit down and watch baseball.
Love it.
We had cable then, and I was really excited by
I
it.
did the same thing, dude.
Let's get into our topic with the Atlanta Falcons, and we'll take some calls on this, Mark. 404-741-0929. Rick, you mentioned something that Dwight Freeney had to say about the talent on this football team, and you can read the quote a little bit better than I can, but what he had to say about how good some of his teammates look and how this team has a chance to go really deep.
Now, we need to say this. Dwight Freeney had this quote after his first padded practice as an Atlanta Falcon on Sunday. But Freeney said, our Falcons remind him of the 2005 and 2006 Indianapolis Colts. Of course, a team that he was a part of. Let's listen to Dwight Freeney.
This reminds me a lot of me and the team that I had in 2005, 2006 with Indy. You know, it's predicated on speed, predicated on all guys getting to the ball and having fun flying around. You know, so, you know, this is like home. It's like my second home, so I'm excited.
So Dwight Freeney, that's a major comparison, and you could say, oh, he's just trying to butter up his new team. There may be a little bit in that, even if it is a sincere analysis of the roster the Falcons have built. To me, I'm looking at this glass half full, and I bring up sort of the cynical possible angle of this, just to give you the full breadth of the conversation. But my read on this is that Dwight Freeney is legitimately impressed. We talked about why would he pick the Atlanta Falcons over the Cincinnati Bengals, who also wanted him. The Bengals have been a perennial playoff team. We have not. Why would he? I think he likes the direction of this team. I think he likes the composition of this team. I think he likes the system in which he's going to play under Dan Quinn. And hearing a future Hall of Fame guy, a Super Bowl champion, a multiple Pro Bowler like Dwight Freeney, lavish our Falcons with praise, has me wondering, John, if I'm being too cautiously optimistic with my hopes and dreams and aspirations for this team. I'm wondering, John, if I'm sleeping on our Falcons.
You are.
We all are a little bit, and part of that has to do with the fact there's 3 years out of the playoffs. You go 4, 6, and 8, and that's your win total of the last 3 years. Not a lot of confidence is going to be there for people to think that, hey, we're just going to bounce and be 10, 11, or 12. I think this is minimum a 10-win football team.
Man, I hope you're right.
Because I see something, and John Fricky and I were standing by the gate yesterday watching practice, and you can see speed on this team that I haven't seen. Even the year that we go to the NFC Championship game and lose to San Francisco, Julio was fast, Tony wasn't fast, Ronnie was fast-ish, but he wasn't fast. Michael Turner surely wasn't fast. And outside of maybe Spoon on the defensive side, and Abe had that good quick first step coming off the edge, they weren't really fast on the football team. Asante wasn't fast, he was crafty. Dante Robinson, nobody thought he was fast. He was just a guy that will come up and tackle you. You see speed on this team that maybe we've never seen, or at least in the recent history of the Falcons we haven't seen. And speed can make up for a lot of mental mistakes. If you got a guy that can get there fast and make a tackle, that's something Dan Quinn's been preaching, that can make you a better football team.
Speed is also immediately noticeable by fans, by analysts, by writers, by Dwight Freeney. I think that's a big reason why Dwight Freeney said what he said about how this team reminds him, you know, it's fast. Everybody's trying to get to the ball, just like we were in Indy in the mid-2000s when we won a Super Bowl. What did Arthur Blank tell us when we had him last week? And Arthur came over and spent 10 fabulous minutes with us. He said this is the fastest camp he has seen. And he said, with all due respect to previous camps, this one is the fastest. John Fricky, who has seen, he would be great at this top on Tuesday, by the way, the milestones in history that he has seen. John Fricky could come up with 4 of these top 5s, I'm sure. John, who's seen all of the practices and all of the training camps he's seen, says this is by far the fastest he's ever seen. Arthur Blank is saying that. You're saying it. Dwight Freeney is saying it. National media people that come down here to Falcons camp to peruse it are saying the same thing. So it has me wondering, I might be sleeping on this team a little bit. And it's not sleeping on them out of hate, negativity. It's sleeping on them out of, I predicted a playoff berth the last 2 years. My bad. So I'm just having saying that they're going to make the playoffs again, but there's a buzz about this team that's got me wondering if I'm sleeping on it.
Yeah, you're supposed to sleep, though, at this time. And again, the history, or at least the most recent history of the last 3 years, shows you that there's not a ton to be optimistic about. Last year, we get off to the start 5-0, and I think all of us are looking around going, all right, we're going to make the playoffs.
No doubt.
Then you're 6-1 and go, there's no chance you start 6-1 and don't make the playoffs. Well, guess what? It happened. And it reminded me, Falcons started 6-2 1 year under Mike Vick, and then they ended up finishing 8-8. They finished the year at 6-6. I want to say it was 04 or 05. Trying to remember off the top of my head. Last year reminded me a lot of that. Get off to a fast start, all of a sudden some things come to a screeching halt. What we need to find, though, is people that can be playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Because right now the defense is going to be more sum of the parts than individuals, and that can be great. Seattle didn't always have superstars. They developed into superstars. Richard Sherman at one point was a relative unknown. Cam Chancellor was a late-round draft choice. You know, Earl Thomas, obviously a first-rounder, you knew him, but you didn't know a lot of these other guys. Michael Bennett was a scrap heap signee. He literally sat for weeks for people to sign him, and it worked in this scheme. You know why? They were fast. You had the Bobby Wagners, the KJ Wrights, the guys that could run to the football, and it allowed them to rush with 4 and run to the football the best way possible.
We're the midday show with Rick and John here from Flowery Branch Falcons practice. They're practicing right now here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game, home of the Falcons. Sean Witherspoon has been solid. Johnny Rockford in the house with his little man. You better go catch your little man, man. He's off for running, Johnny.
He's about to go jump in a drill is what's going to happen.
So Spoon, and another reason, John, this is kind of a twofold thing. I'm kind of like driving to work this morning, like, am I sleeping on this squad? I got to reevaluate this. We have the quote from Dwight Freeney comparing our Falcons this vintage to a Super Bowl team, the Indianapolis Colts in the mid-2000s. This is what Sean Witherspoon had to say about Coach Dan Quinn and the coaching staff. And I just stop everything you're doing and listening to this. He said, I come in here now, I'm being coached at a level that I haven't been coached at, Mike Smith. No disrespect to any coaches in this league that I've played for, but no one has been as hard on me as these coaches here. They really want to see you go out there and do well. In other words, if you don't play well, you're not going to be on the team and or be on the football field. But we love Dan Quinn. We love his bounce. We love his direction. We love his system. We love the improvement on defense from 32 to 16. But you add this to the mix as well. Spoon, a vet who's been around a little bit, talking this way about Quinn and his staff. That's another reason that I'm thinking I might be sleeping on this thing.
A lot of guys are texting in on our Top 5 Tuesday, the top thing that you've seen, whether it's TV or you've seen it in person live. A lot of folks texted about Sid Slide. I mean, how awesome did that have to be as a Braves fan to be at Old Fulton County Stadium to watch them? I was watching on TV back at home. This was down in South Florida. And remember, the Braves were America's team at that time because cable wasn't as prevalent as it is today, and TBS was in every single home. Everybody cheered for them because that was a great story of worst to first, and here they come and everything else like that. And Sid Slide, and they score, and they win, and they go on to the World Series. It was a pretty cool moment. And that's got to be, if you do local Atlanta history, I know the World Series, and you know, the final catch, it was a Kenny Lofton catch in the final ball in center field, and you win, and you go on to beat Cleveland 4-2. I'd argue that Sid Slide is more memorable than the championship itself. I know the championship's the one you stick on the mantle, but Sid Slide is that moment you just go, this is awesome.
Should I just go ahead and not bring up that there was another team that went worst to first that year? Should I just go ahead and leave that alone?
Just leave that alone.
Or should I go ahead and just remind Atlanta fans that I was on the wrong side of the 98 NFC Championship game? Should I remind them about that?
We'll just leave all that out.
All right, Martin Anderson's kick to split the uprights in overtime.
That was pretty close. You know, that was my first year living in it. Literally, it moved
So
here.
you're to blame.
It's awesome. Falcons won. I brought some good mojo up here.
I was still a Minneapolis guy at that point.
I still have
living up there.
The old job I worked at that point. Of course, everybody has Falcon fever. You're getting ready for the Super Bowl. They did a Dirty Bird contest in the office. This is some crap call center job.
Cheesy as hell, right?
Cheesy as can be. And I won this giant, like, Falcons thing of popcorn. I dumped all the popcorn out because it was awful. But I kept the thing. It's got the old school Falcons logo on it. I got money.
Last week and accepted the offer on the table. He would have been paid less in cash than the 4 picks who came after him. He was scheduled to make $10.45 million. The Jaguars number 5 pick Jalen Ramsey's at $12.6 million. Okay, at picks 6 and 7, Ravens offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley and 49ers defensive end DeForest Buckner are at $13.55 and $11.88 million respectively. So if you're Joey Bosa, here's what I would say against Joey Bosa. If the Chargers step up and they say, at least allow us to defer $2 million, we'll give you 15, and you're getting paid more than those other dudes behind you, now it shouldn't be an argument. You shouldn't find yourself in a situation where you're Joey Bosa, you're a rookie coming into this league, you've got some things to prove, you've got teammates that you don't want to alienate, even though they all understand business. Again, it's one thing to hold firm in your position that you shouldn't be paid less than the 4 picks subsequently behind you. It's another thing entirely if the San Diego Chargers with their something wrong with them. I won't even say the word I was going to say. But there's something totally different. If they step up and they say those 4 picks behind you that were getting paid more than you, we will erase that. We will make sure you get paid all of them up front this first year. If San Diego does that, Joey Bosa should have his behind in camp.
Okay, see, I think it's bigger than that, though. I think it is an issue of principle here, and it could turn into something between the players' union and their agents, of course, the various agents for the players, and the NFL, the teams. And by the way, I wonder if San Diego, I'm not saying I know, but if the fact is that San Diego is being pressured by other teams, I wonder if that's collusion, and I wonder what the remedy is to toe the line here.
I don't think
Goff, maybe not. Goff, the number 1 pick, you mentioned Wentz. Goff got both the language out of there that they wanted, right? So the offset language is gone. He got the offset language gone, and he got his bonus.
But he's not with the Chargers.
Okay,
Bill does that.
That's one. The number 5, another top 5 pick got both. And here he is, and here's Bosa just saying, I just want one or the other, as is always the case. For the Chargers to say we don't do that when they haven't drafted
They're a family-owned business. They're a family-owned business.
This reminds me of Steve.
Hold on. They're complaining about the arena and the stadium in San Diego, which is why there's been rumors for years about the possibility of them moving, etc. You've got all of that going on. So if this is their policy, I'm not saying they're right. I'm not defending the San Diego Chargers by any stretch of the imagination. What I am saying, however, is if you are Bosa, I understand your principle, but do you want to play football or not? I'm not telling you to sacrifice your money like that. But my God, if they give you $15 million and they just defer $2 million, you trying to tell me you're the number 3 overall pick coming out of Ohio State?
I'm saying that's reasonable.
That's
what
reasonable.
You're saying is reasonable, but there may be a bigger issue attached to this where maybe he wants to stand on principle. And by the way, Spanos.
Well, then let him go. Let him go someplace else. Let him go someplace else.
Well, right. That's the idea. That's why his mom is saying we should have pulled an Eli. You brought up Spanos. They were belly aching over the Kroenke deal in L.A. Same sort of thing. Like they're complaining, like the Monopoly man with the pockets empty. Like I don't have any money. You know, because they're complaining because they're not as rich as some richer owners. They're complaining because they do things in an antiquated way, which has changed.
Which debunks the theory of collusion. You don't have to collude with San Diego. They're relatively cheap. They're not trying to come out with the dollar.
Right.
This is who they are.
Bosa has to sign his contract today, or he can't be traded to any other team. And then if he remains with the team unsigned, he has until the first day of the 2017 draft to sign with the Chargers there. So the clock is ticking. Meanwhile, friend of the show, Josh Norman, he was just with us at Redskins camp. He didn't tell us he got a new gig. And the kicker, he didn't fill in his day job. We'll explain and get into it when we come back.
Guess what I just did? Built a sandcastle. Huh. No. Switched to Geico and got more. 24/7 access online, on the phone, with the Geico app. Yeah, it's smart. Get some money. That's the big guy on the second research. Yeah, everybody gets it. I think so. Expect great savings. $7 Rich Stone
Jim!
Talk to your rheumatologist. This is Humira at work.
I'm Andy, and I lost 30 pounds on Nutrisystem.
With guaranteed Tidy Lock protection that locks away odors, so you don't have to face one more stank face. Tidy Cats. Every home, every cat. There's a Tidy Cats for that.
Only an authentic Booking.com property would suffice for Jordan's bachelor party.
I'm gonna give this place a killer review.
Oh no, I just always thought maybe my bachelor party would be a little less G-rated.
Wench!
Party time! Party boy! Party time!
You can't spell nutrition without nut, am I right? I mean, who's to say it's pronounced nutrition anyway? My mixes contain delicious nuts, specially blended for your optimal nutrition. That's right. I just changed a word in the English dictionary forever. Flanders, nutrition starts with nut.
Tim Daly, we all need to be more aware of things when we're over 50. Take pneumococcal pneumonia.
Lowry Branch, we bring you back to the midday show with Rick and John. We're right outside Falcon headquarters. We're right beside Falcons practice right now. They are practicing in the rain, ladies and gentlemen.
By the way, some days I'm an idiot. Marquise Grissom, that caught the final. Kenny Loftus was playing for the Indians. Willie Mays Hayes that caught the final out.
But Kenny Lofton was in fact a Brave. Yeah. Did he have 2 stints with the Braves? He did. I think he might have had 2 stints with the Braves. But I don't know. What I do know is it's time for the Slice Live. Rick and John here on the flagship for the Falcons and Hawks. How long can you go without utilities? And John Michaels has just moved this past weekend. How's that going, by the way?
We're about 75% unpacked. There's a lot of stuff here. Yeah, well, she gets home and it's, Tasmanian Devil, let's get all this stuff, which is fine. I hate it.
Here today with my colleague Stephanie Wool, right here on MSNBC, and 50 national security officials from the GOP, ranging from advisors to former cabinet members and generals, are echoing those types of calls against Donald Trump, like McCaffrey. Adding to the voices, though, from elected leaders now, Senator Susan Collins, Congressman Scott Riggle, both have said that they're not voting for their party's nominee. Here with me, senior editor of Business Insider, Josh Barrow, and in Washington, Politico's chief investigative reporter, Ken Vogel. Gentlemen, good to have you with me. And Ken, let me start with you. Trump responded to General McCaffrey, the other national security officials, during an interview on Fox Business this morning. I want to play that for everybody. Take a look.
I wasn't using any of them, and they would have loved to have been involved with the campaign, but I wasn't using, I had no interest in using. Look where the country is now in national policy. Look what we are in defense. Look where we are. Look at the mess we're in.
All right, so talking about the mess that we're in, we've got Senator Collins, Congressman Riggle coming out. Collins being added to the list of Senators Graham, Sass, Flake, Cruz, Heller. What's the breaking point for Republicans? And really, is there one? Or are they just looking for a way to distance themselves?
I think Tom said they've already reached that breaking point, and that breaking point was that when they did a real clear-eyed assessment of how Donald Trump's place at the top of the ticket could affect their ability to hold on to the Senate and even potentially the House. And once they realized that it would have a really negative effect and could be a significant drag, they started looking for ways to distance themselves. And what I think you're really seeing is with some of these super PACs that are aligned with the party but are shying away from Trump and instead trying to do triage to protect the down ballot races. That shows that the party has sort of, to some extent, already reached that breaking point where they're scared of what Trump is going to do to them on November 8th.
All right, so Josh, if we think about down ballot and we look at some of the latest polling, Trump trailing in the polls, NBC News SurveyMonkey tracking poll, what is the effect if Republicans like Ryan, Mitch McConnell, and John McCain stay on the Trump train?
Yeah, well, I think this is part of why they're breaking away now, is they're admitting to themselves that he's going to lose. It's not just that they're admitting he's not going to change, but that it's going to cause him to fall apart in the polls. This is the difficult thing, trying to make a case. Yes, you're not going to vote for Donald Trump, but vote for us down ballot to make sure that there's a Republican check on Hillary Clinton in the White House. Right. This is the case that Republicans made during the 1996 election when they sort of admitted that Bob Dole was going to lose, and they held on to both houses of Congress so that it was possible to thread that that needle, but Bob Dole lost by 8.5 points. I think we may be looking at a double-digit loss for Donald Trump, which would cause really serious problems.
In Colorado, we already see that ad up by a member of Congress that's running to say, you know, keep me or send me so that I can keep a check on Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and so he's in an
more trouble.
Right, and he's in an almost even split district, so he realizes he's going to be in a lot of trouble given that Clinton is probably going to lose Colorado by a wider margin than she loses the country by. I'm going to be interested to see if any of those candidates are able to make that sale. I think it's generally hard to convince voters to split their tickets. There's been a decline in split ticket voting over the last few decades, so if this works, it's going to be unusual, but then Donald Trump is an unusual candidate, and there may be a lot of people who almost always vote Republican who abandon him, who are open to that message that they should vote Republican in other words.
All right, so if we look at the post-convention numbers, guys, and most could dismiss this as part of the bump or not part of the bump, but when we look at just the mammoth, all right, that's the first one since the Trump public spat with the Khan family fully played out. That isn't post-convention nearing mid-August. Ken, is this race pretty set, and is the only thing that could really change it in Trump's favor accepting the presidential debate schedule?
Certainly that's the next sort of set milestone on the calendar that has the potential to reset the race. I don't think the race is set. However, it is telling. Josh uses the Bob Dole analogy from 1996. The point at which Republicans decided Dole was going to lose and we need to protect the congressional seats was much closer to the election, really weeks out. Here we are 3 months out, and Republicans are already making that decision. That's very telling. That suggests that even though I think, and most observers who have watched this historically think that there is the potential for the race to tighten significantly, in fact, probably the likelihood that it will, the fact that Republicans are already turning away from him and trying to do damage control is really telling.
All right, so let's talk about this other issue, guys, with Hillary Clinton being sued by the parents of 2 Americans killed in Libya. They claim Clinton's use of the private email server contributed to those 2012 attacks, and also the fact that they were told by her that it was a YouTube video that contributed to the killings, and that she has said, that's not what I told them. They feel like they're being defamed by her version of the story. So Clinton's campaign put out a statement saying 9 investigations have found no evidence of wrongdoing. But Josh, the Benghazi attacks, that's a hot button issue, and it gets people to pay attention. How tough is this, basically putting her in a role like Trump against Khan, that she's in a role against the parents of those that were killed in Benghazi, and their parents who have lost a person that was killed in duty in the line of fire?
Well, so far, Hillary Clinton has been able to handle criticisms from the families of the people killed in Benghazi in a fairly skillful way. She has treated them with respect and talked about them, about the significance of their loss before going on to defend her position. It's sort of similar to what George W. Bush did when Cindy Sheehan, who was an anti-war activist whose son was killed in Iraq, would criticize him. The trap that Donald Trump fell into, getting into a personal argument with the Khan family, is an unusual one. Most politicians know better than to do that. So I think, you know, this is obviously a story that Clinton would prefer not to be dealing with, but I think that so far the damage that it is going to do to her candidacy has already been priced in. People who are very upset about this are already very upset about it. Barring some Trump-style failure on her part, which I don't think she's going to have, I don't think this is going to be an additional problem that costs her votes going forward.
You can real fast, down 10 seconds. Do you think this type of litigation has legs?
I think it definitely has legs in the sort of court of public opinion, and Josh is right that this is a problem for Hillary Clinton. She has dealt with it more skillfully, but the issue of the video in particular does get to the idea of a cover-up in the administration the initial days after the attack, and that is something that's a legitimate question that Hillary Clinton has answered for, but will continue to have to answer for, especially now with this lawsuit.
Ken Vogel, Josh Barrow, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So we're going to take you down south. Yes, to Brazil, because it was another golden night in the pool in Rio for Team USA. Also, the women's gymnastics team will be back on the mat tonight. Will they make history, as many have put the pressure and are expecting them to do? A live report from Rio next.
Look at all these purchases you made with your airline credit card. Hold on, you only got double miles on stuff you bought from that airline? Let me show you something better. The Capital One Venture Card. With Venture, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase. Not just airline purchases. Every purchase, everywhere, every day. No, really. Double miles on all of them. What's in your wallet?
We've just been hearing so much about how you're a digital company. Yet here you are, building a jet engine.
Well, GE is digital and
peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Ham and cheese. Cops and robbers. Nachos and karate.
Not that one so much. The rest were really good.
Socks and shoes.
Okay, Ricky. One day, Ryder made a decision. The decision to ride on or save money. He decided to save money by switching his motorcycle insurance to Geico. There's no shame in saving money. Ride on, ride proud. Geico Motorcycle. Great rates for great rides.
With regard to this latest sexual harassment allegation from Andrea Tintaros, there are sort of competing claims about exactly what happened there. Of course, Bill Shine, one of the top executives there now, saying that Andrea Tintaros had never made any claims of sexual harassment to him. So, look, each of these sexual harassment claims is different. We have to deal with each one on a case-by-case basis, and it's not clear how many of the claims that are being made here are true. But certainly Fox News PR, whereas it was very aggressive throughout the 20 years that Roger Ailes was at the helm in terms of pushing back on its critics. We know now there are reports that Roger Ailes even had a sort of inside shop to monitor his critics in the press and other critics. Now they've sort of backed off and are being much more quiet. And I think that reflects some of the concerns going on among parent company 21st Century Fox as this investigation into Roger Ailes and his behavior, and indeed into the culture at the company, continues.
All right, Dylan Byers reporting live for us from Los Angeles. Thank you. Coming up in the newsroom, another big day today for the U.S. swim team. CNN's Coy Wire in Rio with more. Hi, Coy.
Hi, Carol. We had a Rocky Balboa, Ivan Drago-style American versus Russian heated matchup in the pool. Olympic records falling. And wait till you see the prank we play on a 5-time Olympian, all coming up on Newsroom.
The U.S. women's gymnast team, the gymnastics, looking to beat their best in the team final today. Yes, because it could be another big night for the American swim team as well. MSNBC's Chris Jansen joins me now from Rio. And Chris, before we get to the events today, let's talk about where we stand on the medal count, because Americans got the hardware in the pool last night that they deserve.
We're winning. Let's just say that. Let's talk about what happened last night. A lot of people talking about Lily King, who made a stand against drugs, against doping, and she's had this thing going on with Yulia Efimova, who is a Russian, who was suspended for 16 months. They've done some trash talking back and forth, but basically, Lily's point is this. You shouldn't be able to be in the pool for the Olympics if you've been caught doping. She even said that about one of her U.S. teammates. And so, what do you do when you want to take a stand? You win gold. And that's exactly what she did. There's no better way to keep that off. Ryan Murphy, in the meantime, the United States has won 6 straight golds in the backstroke, 100-meter backstroke. He set an Olympic record. Big night for him. Another gold for Team USA. But tonight in the pool is going to be amazing. So this goes back to 2012, the most decorated Olympians of all time, Michael Phelps and Chad Latour, South America. Now, do you remember this? You remember that he was kind of shadow boxing in 2012 with Flo? And there's this meme that has come up with Michael Phelps and this freeze frame of his stare down from Michael Phelps. He was having none of it.
Front door.
In the final seconds of that race, Leclerc came out ahead, and he said this rematch is going to be like Frazier Ali. Let me tell you, of all the swims he's going to take here in Rio, I'm guessing that probably none means more to Michael Phelps than this one. He really wants to win tonight. Guess what? Katie Ledecky, who's got the new buzz here, she's also going to be in the pool tonight. That's going to be exciting. And so will Ryan Held. He's the guy, remember him? He became instantly famous because he was on that relay team with Michael Phelps, got on the stand, got very emotional. What a nice guy. Sat down with his gold medal around his neck. I had a chance to talk to him. I talked to his parents as well. Here's a little bit of what he told me.
You know, that symbol stands for so many things and for
so many people that means is really important to them. Obviously a lot of people have honorably given their lives for what that flag stands for, and seeing that flag rise to the first position and the national anthem playing in the background, I think that just kind of made me emotional.
First-time Olympian, he'll be back in 2020, and tonight, the premier event is surely going to be the best women's gymnastics team, arguably, that has ever been. They are competing for team gold. It will be a shock, Thomas Roberts, if they don't take it home.
We'll all be watching. Chris Jansen, thank you, my dear. Appreciate it. And our Olympic coverage begins today at 12 p.m. Eastern, right here on MSNBC.
It's time for the Your Business Entrepreneur of the Week. On June 27th, Distill became the first fashion company to raise capital through the newly approved equity crowdfunding. Customers who love the company were now given a chance to own part of it. Find out if the owners raised the money they need. For more, watch Your Business Sunday mornings at 7:30 on MSNBC.
Brought to you by American Express Open. Visit openforum.com for ideas to help you grow your business.
Will your business be ready when growth presents itself? American Express Open Cards can help you take on a new job. Or fill a big order. Or expand your office and take on whatever comes next. Find out how American Express cards and services can help prepare you for growth at open.com.
You feel good?
No.
You wouldn't put up with part of a pair of glasses. So when it comes to pain relievers, why put up with part of a day?
These are not useful.
Live whole, not part. Relieve.
Glad Force Flex. Extra strong to avoid rips and tears. Be happy. It's Glad.
Take him through, man. Rick.
Introducing the fine new SUV that's anything but a snooze to drive. The first ever Buick Envision. A joy to drive, a joy to share. And yes, it's a Buick.
Now current lessees. Switch to Buick and get this low mileage lease on this 2016 Envision for around $299 per month.
Your insurance company won't replace the full value of your totaled-in car. The guy says, you picked the wrong insurance plan. No, I picked the wrong insurance company.
With new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car, plus depreciation. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
If you're running a business, LegalZoom has your back. Over the last 10 years, we've helped 1 million business owners get started. Visit LegalZoom today with the legal help you need to start and run your business. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
Marie believes that her chicken pot pie gives you the perfect recipe for catching up with family. So she takes the time to prepare a golden flaky crust made from scratch and mixes crisp vegetables with all the white meat chicken and bakes it to perfection. Because Marie Callender knows that making the perfect dinner isn't easy as pie.
And we got him here.
Are you kidding me? Shut up!
The old catch-up packet, big blood, and he's a great play along. Born in Rio, actually pronounced dead at the age of 4 for a full minute, but he overcomes adversity. A 5-time Olympian. He says his team is going to shock the world.
I'm still wondering why you were shaking your head. You got to go to that moment where John Berman came forward and killed me. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Carol Costello. We're going to roll.
She is the candidate of the past. Ours is the campaign of the future.
Donald Trump tried to kickstart his campaign, but instead gets a kick in the teeth.
Our system has produced a candidate who is fundamentally unfit for office.
Susan Collins of Maine says that she cannot vote for the party's nominee, citing Trump's constant stream of court comments and his
his lack of self-restraint.
Don't be fooled. There is no other Donald Trump. What you see is what you get.
Donald Trump gets it. He has courage, he has candor, and he has the guts to make America great again.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kate Baldwin. Sorry,
Indeed,
my
she
notes.
is. She is Kate Baldwin.
That's a way to start a Tuesday.
I'm John Berman. Donald Trump
What's
says
up,
he
Howard?
wants to build a big tent, but what after 10
you
bills
just waking up?
bills, what happens when you can't get any people inside? This morning, more Republicans are fleeing that tent out the back door, or flat. Republican Senator Susan
I'm just getting
Collins
my
made
sour
an
stuff on too,
announcement
don't feel
overnight that
bad.
she cannot support her party's presidential nominee. She will. He lacks the temperament, self-discipline, and judgment required to be president.
Senior Republican foreign policy officials are also lining up against Trump now. 50 of these top experts signed a blistering letter declaring the GOP candidate a threat to national security. CNN's Jason Carroll has the details on this, not looking down at his notes at inappropriate times.
She gonna get the shit together when she laid out.
First, we heard from Senator Mark Kirk from Illinois.
Yeah,
said,
I give you gave
back
one.
in June, I can't endorse this man for president. Now hearing from Susan Collins on the issue, saying that Donald Trump is the type of person who can admit when he's wrong, can apologize when he should apologize. She has come out basically saying, quote, I've become increasingly dismayed by his constant stream of cruel comments and his inability to admit error or apologize. So this is Susan Collins now coming out saying she cannot endorse Donald Trump. This coming on the heels, as you had mentioned, of those 50 people, national security experts who have come out basically saying he is the wrong person, does not have the temperament to be president. So this is turning out to be not the day that Donald Trump thought he would be having. A day after giving his economic speech in Detroit, we were there listening to that speech. The campaign was thinking that today the narrative would be about his tax plan and the other plans that he laid out during his during that speech in Detroit. That would not be the case. You know, we've heard Donald Trump say over and over again that this is a party that is united, but today it appears as if this is a party that is still very much divided. Kate, John.
All right, Jason Carroll, thanks so much. Let's bring the panel to discuss this. Chris Kobach is the Secretary of State of Kansas and Donald Trump supporter. David Gergen, CNN senior political analyst and former advisor to Presidents Nixon, Ford, Reagan, and Clinton. Angela Rye, CNN political commentator, former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Alice Stewart, CNN political commentator and former communications director for the Ted Cruz campaign. David Gergen, I want to start with you, not because of your age, but your wisdom here. We look at what's happening right now with Donald Trump. Susan Collins says she won't vote for him. 50 national security Republicans who served in administrations for the last 30, 40 years say they won't vote for them. Again, this is unusual. This is not something I remember seeing in any election in my lifetime.
It's unprecedented. I don't think it has happened in your lifetime, nor mine. The fact is that these are really substantial people, too. Of the 50 national security people, I work directly, personally, with about 20 of them, and I know a number of them by reputation. And I can just tell you, John, these are substantial people. They're among the best that we have in the country. Bob Zoellick has commands respect all over the world. So does Carl Pills. You can go down through the list. And the fact that they would come out on this national security issue so hard and saying he's too reckless to be president is, I think, damaging. On top of that, Susan Collins commands a lot of respect in Washington as a bridge builder between Republicans and Democrats. She's often the one you can, if you're a Democratic president, you can reach out to Susan Collins and would you come on board on this? And she's one of the best people you can get. So she has weight too. And to have, of course, a lot of these people are now saying publicly what they've been saying privately for a while. But the events of this last week, after the convention, this worst week he ever had, worst week any candidate's ever had that I can see, has brought this continuing flow of bad news for him. I don't think we've seen the end of it.
Well, and Alice, David brought up Susan Collins. I mean, Ted Cruz, he very publicly came out and said, I am not for Trump on the convention stage. He was criticized. He faced some backlash when that happened. What is the risk reward from your perspective for someone like Susan Collins coming out now like this?
Well, just a small point of clarification. Ted went out there on the convention floor and encouraged people at the convention to vote their conscience and certainly support candidates.
Yes, code for not Trump, by the way.
I just want to make that point quite clear. But look, Susan Collins is a rather moderate Republican, so the fact that she's not jumping up to endorse Donald Trump is not a huge surprise. But the concern is the language in her op-ed and questioning his judgment and the way he deals with issues and his way he deals with people in terms of payback. And we're seeing similar language with the 50 GOP foreign policy leaders, and that's the concern. A lot of folks can disagree on his policies and agree with the majority of his policies, but the continued drumbeat questioning his reckless behavior, that's going to cause a concern for people, and it flies in the face of the Trump campaign saying that the party is united. And that is something that they really need to work on if they want to get back on track and get these poll numbers to tighten up quite a bit.
I'm curious, though, to Kate's question, Alice, is there a risk, politically speaking? I mean, a lot of politicians aren't big risk takers, so you get the sense that they would not be fleeing, they would not be breaking from Donald Trump if they thought it would hurt them politically.
Clearly, Susan Collins doesn't appear to think this is a risk, and a lot of these people in Washington, a lot of the folks here, they will stand on principle, and if it's not in their heart to support,
really?
Absolutely, believe it or not, and that's the point. Is that they feel more strongly to stand her ground, and maybe she feels it will be come back against her with her constituents in her district. But a lot of folks feel at this time more than ever it's important to stand your ground on your principle and let your voice be heard. And regardless of the backlash you might get from those in the Trump world, and some certainly with the RNC, it is worth it to stand your ground.
Secretary Kobach, how many defections can you take?
Well, it depends on who the defections are. You know, as far as the letter from the national security experts, those names are not known to most Americans. You know, the only people who recognize those names are political insiders like us who've already made up our mind who we're voting for. Similarly, the Susan Collins deal, that's outside of Maine. She's not. Yeah, I know, but you poll most people, will they recognize who the first Homeland Security Secretary was? I guess maybe.
They will recognize in Pennsylvania. They will recognize Tom Ridge.
Secretary.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania maybe, but again, you know, a governor from many years ago. I really think, based on my observation of politics and how elections work, these endorsements or non-endorsements have zero effect, especially when they're from people who were in office so long ago. So I just don't see that as having a big effect. Among Washington insiders, oh my goodness, yeah, it looks like something earth-shattering. But most voters don't know and don't care.
Go ahead, Amy.
So I think this is a thing for us to point out, though. I think it is interesting that those who are on the ballot where Donald Trump did particularly well in the primaries, they are supporting Donald Trump. The folks who have no dog in this fight, who are either no longer in an administration or they're no longer running for office or they're not up for re-election this term, they are not supporting Donald Trump. And what you normally see on the Hill as a former Hill staffer are folks who all of a sudden remember their conscience when it's time to either go out and retire. We saw the Republican Congressman Hanna earlier on say that he can't support Donald Trump. You remember your conscience, and I think that it's important for us to know that these folks don't have a dog in the fight. I know there are Trump supporters saying they want to get positions in the Clinton administration. I don't think that's what it is at all. I think this is folks being in touch with their conscience and saying, at some point, partisanship aside, this guy is unfit and unqualified.
Angela, while we have you, can we ask you about a strange chapter in this campaign that happened overnight? A lot of us didn't notice it yesterday, but during Hillary Clinton's event in Kissimmee, which apparently I've been saying wrong for dozens of years.
Might have said it wrong as well.
I might have said it wrong there again. In Florida, a city in Florida, Hillary Clinton did an event, and sitting behind her on the stage, you can see it right there, that's the father of the Orlando shooter. He says he went to the event. He essentially says that, you know, he likes Hillary Clinton.
He's a member of the Democratic Party.
Donald Trump. Yeah, you know, this, and you know from being a political operative, is, you know, people who sit behind the candidate are often placed there by the campaigns. I don't know if that happened here. I'd be shocked if it did happen here, but still, it's a very unusual and perhaps unsettling picture for people in the Orlando area.
Yeah, I've never seen that, and just now, like, my stomach dropped when you said that. I would say that this is probably not good staff work on behalf of some of the team or the volunteers with the campaign. They didn't know. A lot of times they place people based on ensuring there's diverse representation, and they don't necessarily go and look up folks' backgrounds. It's not, you know, filling out a ways form to get into the White House. So unfortunately, this is a terrible mistake. And of course, the dad is not at fault, but I mean, this is not what you want. This is the type of distraction you want to avoid at this point in an election.
And Alice, as someone who's been high up in campaigns, and you understand optics, you know kind of how these rallies are kind of set up. I mean, did someone screw up here?
That is a major advanced team failure right there, because when you set up an arena like this, there's often you can have flags in the background, you can have a big tractor in the background depending on what your message is, but when you have people setting your backdrop, as Angela said, you want to show diversity, you want to show all types of men, women, young, old people, but for that man to get back there and get past the advanced team's carefully choreographed background, it's not a good sign. It's certainly not his fault. It's certainly not Hillary's fault. But what it does, it brings to mind the tragedy in Orlando and the tragic worst mass shooting we've had since 9/11 in this country, and it's something that they should not be talking about. So the fact that that happened, I'm sure someone is sitting down right now and getting a tongue lashing, because that's something that should not happen in these kind of events.
Secretary Kobach, I want to shift gears again. We're doing a panel whiplash here. There are some presidential debates scheduled. 4 of them, 3 presidential and 1 vice presidential. Hillary Clinton says she's going to all 3. Do you think Donald Trump should say today that I agree to the 3 debates set out by the Presidential Debate Commission?
Yeah, I absolutely think he should say he agrees to the 3, whether he says it today or whether they have some more squabbling about scheduling. You know, that may still happen. But, you know, I think actually the debates are probably going to work in Donald Trump's favor. You know, one of the things that helped him in the Republican primary and caucus process is that he's actually interesting to watch. You hang on his every word, in part because you don't know what he's going to say next, and people like to see that. And you saw those unprecedented debate viewership numbers. So, you know, we've seen Hillary Clinton speak for decades now. She's very predictable. I think the debates probably will work in Trump's favor. It's going to be hard for the Clinton team to prepare for them. So, you know, I think he's absolutely going to accept them, and probably it's in his interest to have as many debates as possible.
And David, it's interesting because John Podesta putting up a statement saying we're in for the 3 debates, and he wrote, the only issue now is whether Donald Trump is going to show up. What would happen if he did not debate? I mean,
if he refuses to, he desperately needs debates. He needs debates more than she does. He's got to find some way to shake up this campaign. So he has to. But what I think this is a very smart tactic
by the campaign.
Because she puts him in a position. Either he says yes and gives up, you know, his point about moving the dates of the debates off football games and things like that, which was an important point, or he keeps squabbling about the dates and looks like he's trying to avoid it. So, you know, this was like, you know, playing chess or checkers. You take that, you set yourself up and you jump, you take the piece. That's just what they just did.
Okay.
Shenanigans. Go ahead,
Okay,
Alice.
I want to remind everyone that he did bow out of the debate in the primary. He did so at his own peril, but he bowed out of the debate because he didn't want to talk about the issues. He wanted to instead insult his challengers. But I think in this case, I think he certainly should accept this debate and not fight about the schedule. In a 4-year presidential cycle, there are 4 general election debates, including the vice presidential, and 1,000 NFL games. So you can imagine the struggle for the commission to find acceptable dates. So I think he should go ahead and accept these debates, and let's see the 2 duke it out.
So is the Clinton campaign playing games here then? Is David saying?
No, I don't think the Clinton campaign is playing games. I do think that it is a good tactical and strategic move. We know that in her
Also known as...
But he can be baited with the tweet. He can certainly be baited with the statement. I'm going to tweet it right after this to see if he's going for it.
Shenanigans equals game.
I said strategic.
I'm sorry. Strategery equals game.
All right, guys.
Chess and checkers, that is.
We will leave on that note. Thanks all so much.
Thanks, guys. Coming up, he's got a tough hill to climb, and by hill, I mean maybe like Everest. But a new candidate has jumped into the ring, and does he have a real chance of disrupting Trump's path in at least 2 states? It's got an interesting story. We're going to speak live with you guys behind this new effort.
Plus, inside the government has Tom Steele now reported audio tapes that allegedly could prove accusations from one Fox anchor against former CEO Roger Ailes. This just keeps getting curiouser and curiouser.
No, that was me. Go on back to sleep, baby.
That's why I got a Subaru present.
Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Get 0% on select Subaru models during the Subaru A Lot to Love event, now through August 31st. In 1996, TracFone began with one important belief. Wireless should be affordable for everyone. 20 years later, we're still making it easy to save money on smartphones. Our new smartphone plan is just $15 a month. You get talk, text, and data with unlimited carryover, with no contract and coverage on one of America's largest 4G LTE networks. Plus, we have new 4G LTE smartphones starting at under $50. New smartphones, new plans, new ways to do everything for less with TracFone. Available at Walmart.
At Safelight, we know how busy life can be. These kids were headed to their first dance recital, and their windshield got cracked. But they couldn't miss the show. So Dad went to the new Safelight.com, and in just a few clicks, he scheduled a replacement before the girls even took the stage. Safelight.com is the fast, easy way to schedule service anywhere in America, so you don't have to miss a thing. Y'all did wonderful. That's another Safelight advantage.
Hi, I'm Jerry Sloan of NewTek, your business solutions company. Does your business need money? Whether you need $10,000 or $10 million, you can count on NewTek, the nation's largest non-bank government guaranteed lender. NewTek can help your business expand and grow. With a simple phone interview, we can qualify you in just 48 hours. And with rates as low as 6%, you can see why so many businesses turn to NewTek. To see how easy getting a loan can be, contact NewTek, your business solutions company today.
Go get that money from Loretto of Sicario.
Those banks thought they could steal your mama's land.
Critics rave Hell or High Water is the best movie I've seen this year.
Good morning, Buck. You hear about these bank robbers?
Doc left welcome to get a raise. I know they got away with you. Who I am? I'll hook you to the rest of your day. Hell or High Water at all select cities this Friday.
You do all this research on a perfect car, then smash it into a tree. Your insurance company raises your rates. Maybe you should have done more research on them.
For driver and accident claims, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Just one of the many features that come standard with our base policy. Call 1-888-776-2147 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Welcome to Smart Investing. At Betterment, we've created automated investing to help people make better financial decisions and reach their goals. We make your life better by helping you manage your money, invest for your personal goals, and stay on track for retirement. The revolution of smarter, straightforward, personalized investing has started. We're leading it.
Closed captioning brought to you by America's Best Value Inn, the best value on the road.
You wear many hats, so relax at our 1,000 America's and Canada's Best Value Inns. Enjoy free internet and instant rewards at most locations.
Wisconsin, you are on the clock. Polls are now open there with all eyes on the state's first congressional district, where House Speaker Paul Ryan is up for re-election, trying to fend off a primary challenge. The outcome could offer some insight into how voters are feeling in that state heading into the national election in November.
Of course, this is a race that drew national attention because Donald Trump at one point tweeted something kind about Ryan. Now he has endorsed Paul Ryan. CNN's Manu Raju is in Paul Ryan's hometown of Janesville this morning. Manu, what do you see?
You know, a steady stream of voters here at this polling location, guys. An uptick, actually, from past August primaries, we were told by an election official here who says that perhaps this is because of the tension between Ryan and Paul Nehlen. Interestingly, here in Wisconsin, it's an open primary system, so that means Democrats, independents could vote if they choose to vote for the Republican primary. So we'll see if that balance at all. We're not expecting that to be the case. There's no evidence so far to suggest that Paul Ryan is in any serious danger. And one reason why is that Trump flap that happened does not seem to have hurt Paul Ryan politically, largely because Donald Trump isn't particularly popular in this district. In fact, in the April presidential primary, Ted Cruz won this district overwhelmingly. And so this is not Donald Trump country. And That's one reason why perhaps if Donald Trump changed his mind, decided to endorse Paul Ryan in just a matter of days, and one reason why Mike Pence is going to be here campaigning in southern Wisconsin this week, realizing this is an important part of the state where they need to get votes if they actually want to have a serious chance of winning. Now, yesterday when Paul Ryan was campaigning, he was not trying to talk about Donald Trump. He did not talk to reporters in the last couple of days, but he was asked about Donald Trump by a voter, and he said, well, maybe I'm not so happy that you asked me this question about Donald Trump. But he said that Donald Trump is a nominee. He won the votes, and there's no way you can challenge that. So not particularly a ringing endorsement from Paul Ryan to vote to Donald Trump, but that's kind of the way the relationship has gone, guys.
All right, Manu Raj for us in Janesville. Keep us posted, Manu.
Thank you, Manu. Let's shift gears back to the presidential race right now. Joining us to discuss the latest, Leslie Rutledge. She's a Donald Trump surrogate, a member of the RNC Rules Committee, and the Attorney General of the great state of Arkansas. Attorney General, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and I am not a member of the RNC Rules Committee. I was counsel at the Republican National Committee in the 2012 presidential cycle. So just a little correction there before we get going.
Love being correct. Thank you very much for the correction, Attorney General.
Sorry about that.
No reason to be sorry. Evan McMullin, he has jumped into the race. He has called Donald Trump, since he's jumped into the race, a inhuman, weak, and that Donald Trump seeks to divide. What do you say to Evan McMullin?
Well, I think Evan McMullin he's wrong on a number of issues, and particularly he is wrong if he thinks that getting on the ballot is easy. I was counsel at the RNC, as I just mentioned, and it is an overwhelming task to be on the ballots, an overwhelming task to seek the presidency of the United States. And I think Evan is a non-factor in this election, and quite frankly, even in this news cycle, the American public have not heard of him very much at all, and will not hear of him as we go into November.
One of the things I talked to Evan last night, he did call Donald Trump inhuman. He doesn't think Donald Trump has the temperament to be president. Donald Trump was asked about his temperament on Fox Business today outright. Are you going to change your temperament to try to improve your standing in the polls? He says, my temperament has gotten me here. I certainly don't think it's appropriate to change all of a sudden when you've been winning. Do you think that there is any room for improvement for Donald Trump when it comes to his temperament?
Well, we can all improve our temperament, and certainly when we look at Secretary Clinton as she was discussing the lies about Director Comey, she said, oh, I short-circuited. Well, do we really want someone, do the American people deserve to have someone short-circuit when they have their hands on the nuclear codes? That's the sort of temperament that we have seen out of Secretary Clinton. She has a lot of room for improvement and is quite frankly unfit based on her lies on top of lies. And so when we talk about temperament, we need to be talking about Hillary Clinton's temperament and lack thereof.
She didn't say she short-circuited her answer, which isn't to suggest that the answers that she gave for the last week were completely truthful. At the beginning, they certainly weren't. But she didn't say she short-circuited. She said she short-circuited her answer.
But to John's original question, you do think Donald Trump has room to improve when it comes to his temperament?
Well, again, I think that we all have room to improve, and as we've seen, Donald Trump has gained 14 million votes in the primary. Those are the sort of numbers that we should be talking about. And yes, he got those as he was talking directly to the American public. He's speaking to Americans across the country. That's how Americans talk. And so he's never been a politician. He has never run for office, whereas Hillary Clinton has spent years in public service and doing the public a disservice as such. And so he's learning how to be in the public eye as a candidate and hopefully as the next president of the United States.
No question, he crushed in the primaries. I mean, he did win the primaries, surprised a lot of people there. But you know, because you run for office yourself, I mean, it's a different electorate in a general election than it is in a primary. Does he need to be more sensitive to that?
I think Donald Trump needs to continue talking about his economic plan to grow jobs across the country. He's been growing jobs all these years and has experience doing so. Hillary Clinton has been growing lies and hurting Americans. That's what we need to be focused on. I think we have seen Donald Trump improve as a candidate. Again, it's his first time on this stage, and quite frankly, Americans are sick and tired of this same old out of Washington, D.C. and out of Washington, D.C. insiders. That's why those 50 individuals who wrote that letter, Americans don't care about those numbers. They don't care about 50 Washington, D.C. insiders. They care about whether or not they will have a job and whether or not they will be safe. When it comes to jobs and national security, Donald Trump wins every single time against Secretary Clinton.
when it comes to the 50 national security experts as well as Susan Collins, you say that the American public doesn't care about what they have to say, but kind of when it comes down to it in politics, in elections, as you've run, you know, wouldn't you prefer to have their endorsement if they've all worked in Republican administrations than have them coming out against your candidate?
Well, certainly you would love to have everyone's support, but quite frankly, no candidate will ever have 100% support. Who Donald Trump has support of, and that's the American worker, American people across the entire United States. People came out in droves to support him and do that again in the general. What we are not seeing, as reflected in these national polls, are the polls that are much closer in swing states. In Ohio and Pennsylvania, across the country, people have come out to support Donald Trump, and they will continue to do so because, quite frankly, again, they care about jobs and security, and Hillary Clinton represents dishonesty and the same old in Washington, D.C. Quite frankly, she would be secretary of the same if she was elected president. The same old policies, the same lies, the same failed economics of Barack Obama.
That would involve expanding the government to create a cabinet office for the same. And I know you're, opposing big government, but I get your point right there. Attorney General Leslie Rutledge, great to have you with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just saying, there's no cabinet department out of the same right now.
That is accurate. That is also, you're keeping it true. Coming up, see that guy? We're going to show you right here, wrecking Hillary Clinton at her rally in Florida. Turns out he is the father of the Orlando nightclub shooter. Why was he there? Did the campaign know about it? We'll be good.
Plus, secrets, spying, payoffs, and quote, twirling. Brand new accusations against Fox News and its former CEO, including alleged audio tapes of alleged harassment.
Is an amazing thing. As we know, naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
If you need advice for your business, LegalZoom has your back. A trusted network of attorneys has provided guidance to over 100,000 people just like you. Visit LegalZoom today for legal help you can count on. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
Hey, where are you going? We've got that thing. Diarrhea, abdominal pain, but we sort of heat up. Who makes the decisions around here? It's me. Don't think I'll make it. Stomach again. Send.
If you're living with frequent, unpredictable diarrhea and abdominal pain, you may have irritable bowel syndrome with diarrhea, or IBS-D, a condition that can be really frustrating. Talk to your doctor about Vyberzi, a different way to treat IBS-D. Vyberzi is a prescription medication you take every day that helps proactively manage both diarrhea and abdominal pain at the same time, so you stay ahead of your symptoms. Vyberzi can cause new or worsening abdominal pain. Do not take Vyberzi if you have or may have had pancreas or severe liver problems, problems with alcohol abuse, long-lasting or severe constipation, or a blockage of your bowel or gallbladder. If you're taking Vyberzi, you should not take medicines that cause constipation. The most common side effects of Vyberzi include constipation, nausea, and abdominal pain. Stay ahead of IBS-D with Vyberzi.
She spent summer binge watching. Soon, she'll be binge studying.
Get back to great.
This week, Sharpie singles now 25 cents. Office Depot Office Max. Gear up for school. Gear up for great.
Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Crunchy wheat. Frosted sweet. For the adult and kid in all of us. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Feed your inner kidult.
Gary, I am proud of you, my man. Making simple, smart cashback choices. With Quicksilver from Capital One, you're earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Like on that new laptop, Quicksilver keeps things simple, Gary. And smart, like you. I like that. I guess I am pretty smart. Don't let that go in your head. What's in your wallet?
In a world that's trying to turn you into someone new, one hair color wants to help you keep on being you. Nice and easy, natural looking color that even in sunlight doesn't look like hair color.
It just looks like you. Nice and easy. Color as real as you are.
New exciting places. You're talking my language here. Unforgettable meals.
Oh, man, that was good.
And dinner with the Commander-in-Chief. A new season of Infinite 14 Parts Unknown coming this fall on CNN.
Usually we don't have sales, but for just 21 days, Renewal by Andersen is having one of the biggest sales on replaceable windows and patio doors. Before August 21st, save $300 on every window and save $775 on every patio door. And get a free upgrade to our energy-efficient Smart Sunrise. And get incredible financing too. No money down, no payments, and no interest for a year. We're the full-service replacement window division of Andersen, and we promise you one of the most hassle-free home improvement projects you'll ever have. Renewal by Andersen's 21-day sale ends August 21st. Save $300 on every window and save $775 on every patio door and get a free upgrade to our energy-efficient Smart Sunrise. The sale ends on August 21st, and there are limited appointments available. Call to schedule your free window diagnosis. 404-850-0909.
The Hunt with John Walsh returns Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Some current and former Fox News staffers tell CNN they were worried former chief Roger Ailes was listening to their phone calls, even monitoring their emails before he was ousted. Fox News employees were tight-lipped about allegations of sexual harassment. Since former anchor Gretchen Carlson made her story public, others have done the same.
The latest is Andrea Tantaros, who says she complained several times last year to Fox executives about Ailes' behavior. According to New York Magazine, she says she was demoted and taken off the air. Fox continues to pay her. Joining us now to discuss, CNN senior media correspondent and host of Reliable Sources, Brian Stelter, and CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor, Laura Coates. Brian, I guess I want to start with Andrea Tantaros here. This gets to more than just Roger Ailes, right?
That's right.
She is accusing more than just this man. She's accusing others of at least knowing what was going on.
He spoke with her attorney last night, and he says that Tantaros went to other executives at Fox in 2015 to report this harassment, and those reports were not taken seriously. She's targeting one of Ailes' top deputies, Bill Shine, as well as Diane Brandy, the head of HR at the company. Now, there have been questions for weeks about whether other executives will be embroiled in this scandal. So far, Fox has said no. They've said it's only Ailes. This is all about Ailes, and the Murdochs have tried to clean this up by ousting Ailes almost 3 weeks ago at this point. But there's been a drip of other stories now implicating other executives. We should say very clearly, Shine denies ever being told by Tantaros that Ailes harassed her.
And there's also now talk that there are recordings here, Laura. Like when it comes to a case against Roger Ailes or any other executive or Fox, what does the presence of a recording do to a lawsuit?
It's a game changer. You have an issue now where you've got proof. The sexual harassment claims are very, very difficult to prove. It's usually he said, she said, or that's the gender with makeup. But now you have actual documentation or proof of an audio recording that may be out there that says, here's what he was saying to these employees, and here's how he created this hostile work environment. And Brian's dead on. If this is a drip, it's turning into a flood, because if there were other execs who were knowledgeable about this work environment, about this open and nefarious conduct by Roger Ailes, Fox News is in a lot of trouble. Fox Corporation.
But Laura, there's one lawsuit right now that we know of, right? There's only one lawsuit, and it's from Gretchen Carlson, and it's not against Fox News. It's Gretchen Carlson against Roger Ailes. And that's what I'm a little bit confused about, because some of the reporting overnight Vanity Fair is saying Fox wants to get Roger Ailes to pay some of this lawsuit out of his own pocket. But
off the settlement, yes.
But isn't he the only person being sued here? Would he be the only person involved in a settlement? What's Fox's liability?
Well, the liability of Fox would also be about the shareholders, right? Because it's a corporation, and you have Roger Ailes, who's allegedly not only having these audio recordings, but using corporate funding to promote and advance his personal objectives. And one of those may, in fact, be the harassment of employees at this corporation. So if that's the case, the liability is more of a shareholder issue. But remember, Fox has a very unique makeup of their voting. Even though the family only owns 15% of the corporation, they have 40% in voter power. So they have to actually decide whether or not Roger Ailes' conduct, his corporate spending, and the action he took against Gretchen Carlson and perhaps other people was